It's on now.
I can see a red dot.
Means it's on.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's so many babies this year.
There it is.
Yeah. Korth must have gone.
Yeah, probably. So what did you do after the war?
I went home. They ended up dumping us into some place in New York, and then we went on to Chicago, all by train. And when we got to Chicago, they divided us up into where we wanted to go, and mine was Michigan.
Didn't your father die during the war?
You died during the war. If I was there 4 years, he probably died 2 years. Another 2 years. He'd already been dead for that long. My brother never went overseas, so he was involved in when my father died, because they'd give you time off to go to see your parent.
Yeah.
Well, they had that same thing for people in Europe, but I didn't know anything about it, and they'd send newspapers in, but the newspapers would be like 2 weeks old or something.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy saw one from the Bay City Times, believe it or not, and then he said that asked me if what my father's name was, and I told him. He said, "Well, yeah, that's this name right here." And I said, "What's it about?" And he said, "He died." I said, "Oh, great."
So what'd you do?
Well, I went to they have this one priest or minister or something that covers all the religious things for everybody. And so I knew that they could, they could actually
Talk to you.
Talk to us, and if it was legitimately, they could send me home for just, come back in a couple of weeks or so.
But you didn't go home.
But it never happened because the time had gone so far by that they, it was like a whole month or something before I found out about it. Do you see stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Where were you?
Where was I?
Were you in England?
No, I might have been. I must have been in Europe, but I don't remember where at the time. It's probably one of those things where you're running all through the country, and they'd have these mail things about once every month, where your parents or whoever sent the stuff to you. But I'd say only 50% of the stuff ever went through. There was no way to keep track of it or like they have today.
But what did you do after the war? Did you work? Or did you go straight to college?
I went to college. No, first thing I did is I went home and to my family home. And I went there, and of course my father wasn't there. My brother was somewhere in the area because he'd already gotten out of the war. And I had 2 sisters, and they were both working somewhere, and I did see them for a couple of weeks.
So no one was living at home?
My mother.
Oh.
So when I went there, they told me that they would be glad to have me stay, but I would have to pay for my room and board and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, that's fair, everybody has to chip in their own. And I thought, well, if I can do anything I want, I just soon do better than just sit around in Bay City, Michigan. And I said, so I told him, I said, I'll see you around.
What college did you go to?
Michigan State College, because it was the the reason I think it was an easier to get into, and we were in Quonset huts when I finally got in.
What's that?
Quonset huts are like that, and they have you get two guys in one of those things. That's just for sleeping in, and then they had in the corridor they have a place to sit down and do your schoolwork and stuff. And that lasted it was 4 years I did that. And I would go down to Florida in the winter time and worked on the beaches for money. And then in the winter time.
Wait, you went to Florida in the winter for your winter break?
Yeah, see, that was four times a year at Michigan State. You had fall, winter, spring, and summer. So you could pick any one of those. And the reason they did that is because they had so many people trying to get to get a degree. So they had to juggle it around.
Because everyone was coming home from the war.
Yeah. So that if you wanted to, you could just do 3 or 2 or whatever you wanted to do. And they had some of them. If you got a certain degree in your first month, you didn't have to take the next 3 years.
Hmm.
I mean, it was really
complicated.
Yeah, but I mean, so a couple of those I was lucky enough to get out of, and the other ones I just worked through them when I got home. I worked in Florida. What
did you do in Florida?
On the beach. I was a beach boy in the summertime. I mean the wintertime. And then I would.
Were people swimming and stuff? I mean.
In the wintertime?
Yeah.
Oh sure, in Florida.
Well, yeah, I know. It's not bad.
Yeah. They did that, but I would go there in the wintertime.
Did you ever go in the summer?
No, because in the summer I went to Cape Cod.
What did you do there?
The same thing. I worked in the Coonamessett Club, it's called.
So were these like hotels?
Yeah, but they were expensive, a lot of money people.
Were you bringing up suitcases and?
Yeah, but then my job was to entertain the adults that came in and make sure they got into this thing, and I'd set up their times for meals and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That's where I met Judy Garland, and I knew her for several years because she was in and out of some kind of...
Was that Cape Cod or Florida?
It was a Cape Cod.
How young was she?
Well, she was a little older than I was, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a daughter that's still alive. What's her name now? Yeah. Eliza something or other, I think it is. But anyway. So I did that. And I did...
Did you have fun though?
Yes.
Did you have friends and all that?
Yep. And and because I had a college education or was working on one, it was better than a lot of the guys were just going to be bums and, they'd work in the bar and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that I would be included. In fact, when she wanted to go out at night, she had a guy that she was dating at the time. And I was the guy that drove the car that belonged to the club. So I'd take him in there, and the first couple times I just sort of sat around, and after that she said, well, why don't you come and eat with us? And so I just got to be a habit that when they'd go out, I'd go out with them. It worked out fine. We had a lot of fun.
Oh, good. That's funny.
Yeah. I'll never forget, there was a gal in there. You had to take your turn in the place. You were on some kind of a program where you had to answer the phone calls for just the people that were staying there in case they wanted something done in the middle of the night or whatever, you had to do it. And what was this gal's name? I can't think of her name, but she was a famous movie star at the time. She had a low husky voice, and she called up and said to me, "This is Tallulah Bankhead," I think her name was. "This is Tallulah Bankhead, and I want a chicken salad sandwich." And I said, "Well, Miss Bankhead, the kitchen is closed because it's, 3:30 in the morning." She said, I'm Tallulah Bankhead and I want a sandwich. And I said, "But we have no way of doing it." And she said, "Well, go to hell." And I couldn't believe it. She said, "Go to hell and shit in your hat." Hung up. Well, what's she doing up at night anyway, asking for drinks and stuff?
Who knows? That's
laugh.
funny.
Yeah. And they had these, those like boats, but they were like floating things, and they had bars in them, and we'd be out in the ocean. And they'd have food and stuff out there, and we had to fly, take our stuff out there in our buckets and bring all the food and put it up there and feed them and the whole bit. They'd be all drunker than anything. A lot of movie stars were involved. Anyway, I did that, and I had a lot of offers. Between going to school and going to the places I worked, I was getting offers for stuff to do,
Like what?
Well, there was a car made in Detroit, and they had, and I can't think of the name of it. It didn't last very long, but they had this car, and they wanted, the guy wanted to know if I'd be interested in coming to them to get in business with them when I finished college. And then I met Fran.
I thought you met her before college.
Well, I knew her before college.
Okay.
During college. But, we didn't get engaged till about the last year I was
In college?
in college, yeah.
Where'd she go? Was she going to college?
She'd already gone back, because, and so, well, it worked out all right.
Guess so.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys go out during, before, in high school?
Yeah, I think we did a few times. And then we'd get letters and stuff, but I'd get them from a lot of girls. Well, it's just one of those things, and then I knew her, and I knew her sister, and we were pretty good friends, When we got home, I found out she was dating another guy, and her sister said to me, he's a bum. She said, don't pay any attention to her, she'll change her mind. And she was thin, about that big, and very pretty, and well dressed, and had a car, and so I guess that's when we fell in love and got married.
Good.
Yeah.
Right, like your senior year in college?
Yes. And then when we got all done getting married.
Where do you see her again, though?
And I saw her in Central High School before I left, and then.
Yeah, but where did you see her once you got back from the war?
She was in Bay City.
Okay, so when you went to visit your family, you saw her.
Well, yeah. When I go back, I'd see her then.
Okay.
But I was only there well, in fact, in the summertime, I never went back at all. I just went there. Hello, how are you? I'm going away. I'll be back. It was sort of the stopping off place. I never really got locked in, and I might have gotten a bed or something for one night or something like that.
Is it too faded?